All right, welcome in everybody. It's another episode. We do not have Daniel, which is a shame because we're going to get into something he knows a little better than me, but I'm hoping our guest tonight can educate me a little bit. Hannah, how are we doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Fantastic. Anytime we get to talk to a Hail State guest, it's phenomenal time. My little maroon and white buddy in the room next door, if he hears me talking to Mississippi State, he may pop in to see who it is. Always on the lookout for a Cameron James or Landon Sims if he can find them. But let's get into some icebreakers before we get into your story. Right out the gate, who is your favorite musician right now? Not all time, but right now.
Oh gosh, that's a hard question. Um, right now, I would still have to say Justin Bieber. There's a story with that, but I'm a believer, I gotta say.
I get it. I get it. And so, with that, I got to ask if you were to go sing karaoke at a bar right now, would it be Bieber you'd pick, or are we going a different direction?
Oh man. I mean, if anybody heard me sing, they would hit the door. I would say that. But
So the
oh
key
gosh.
is, I will tell you then, it can't be a Justin Bieber song. You got to pick something that everybody in the room knows. That way they can drown out your voice. That's what I do as somebody who can't sing very well. Pick something that everybody else will sing. That way I can kind of just fall off, behind everybody.
Okay. Well, I mean, I gotta stick to good old Mississippi State, so I'm just gonna say "Don't Stop Believing." I know that's kind of
You
so
could
basic, but it's such a good song, and everyone in Starkville knows it.
that, or you can go with, as a matter of fact, the last time I sing karaoke was in Ruston, Louisiana, and I did Friends in Low Places, which obviously is a Mississippi State song.
Another good one.
So
Either one of those.
you can always go that route. All right. If you could be any Disney character, doesn't even have to be a princess necessarily, obviously could be. Who would you be?
I'm gonna have to go with Belle. I've Beauty and the Beast. I know that's so basic to say a princess, but that's my favorite Disney movie, whether it's animated or live action, and so I'm gonna stick with that.
Hey, it's a solid answer to me because it's my wife and daughters. They're both Beauty and the Beast, and Belle's their favorite. So hey, you're in the right department with me. All right, favorite athlete you like to watch. Obviously, you're around a lot of sports. Who is it? Somebody that if they're on TV, there's somebody you want to watch.
Oh me, these are hard questions.
And these
Um,
are just icebreakers.
I know these are just the icebreakers. Gosh, well, I mean, I'm a big sports girl, so I love all sports in general. Um, oh man.
Let me flip it to this. Let me ask you something because it's something we weren't going to talk about, but he's the guest of the show. How weird is it going to be to watch Will Rogers next year talking about on TV wearing something other than maroon?
Very weird. Like
It's
very
not
weird.
gonna be right. Like,
Yeah. And especially I think I saw a clip on Twitter of him at the national championship and I saw like a number switch and I saw his number and of course the first thing I think is Dak Prescott because
mhm.
he's our big number 15 in Starkville and if I were to have to pick an athlete I would probably say Dak. Um just because I bleed maroon and white and I love Mississippi State so much so obviously I'm going to support any and everyone that comes out of Mississippi State but yeah, it's going to be very weird.
I tell people about the presence Dak Prescott has. When I was in Omaha in 2021 and I was at the team hotel, when the team came in after winning the national championship, the people were clearly loud. But
Mm,
then there was a second ovation that was louder, and that was when Dak came in the hotel, and I was like,
yeah.
it is clear how much this fan base loves that guy. Because I mean, you just had a team win a national championship, and the cheer wasn't as loud as when Dak walked in the building. He definitely, I think he's everybody's favorite. I mean, there's so many Cowboys fans now that are Mississippi State fans that didn't like the Cowboys before, and they'll ride or die with Dak.
Right. And I think the reason why I like him so much as an athlete is just not because of the person he is on the field, but off the field. And I remember growing up going to Mississippi State. I remember me and my mom and my brother stood next to his mom, her last dog walk of like the last game that she went to before she passed. And just to like see just his how much he loves his mom and like how much he's done since she's passed and just I was able to meet him actually this year back Super Bowl weekend and I was able to share that story with him and just his character just speaks volume about who he is as a person. And he's a great athlete, a great football player, but football is not everything to him, and football doesn't define him, if that makes sense. And so I think
Yeah.
that's why he's such a big role model to so many.
Yeah, and what's sad about that is you say it's not all he is, but when you play quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, that's all anybody sees you as, unfortunately.
Exactly. Exactly.
So let's get into your story. Where are you from?
So I am from Huntsville, Alabama.
And you don't really have that Alabama twang. We've had a couple Alabama guests. You somehow managed to lose it in your time in Mississippi.
I know, and you think it would have gotten a little bit stronger, especially being my mom a native of Mississippi. But yeah, we're North Alabama. We're about, 45 minutes from, well, not even that actually, more like 30 minutes from the Tennessee state line. And I would say my mom's side of the family, they have a thicker accent, but me and my dad and my brother, it's not as thick. A lot of people, when they hear us, they think, oh, you're from Texas, or you know, which I know that could go, you could have a twang from there too. But I know some people say I hear it a little bit because I'll say y'all, but it's not as strong as other
Right.
places.
When we had Briley St. Clair on, who I know is your friend, that is a
Yes.
strong Bama.
Yes. Yes. And what's funny is we're not that far like apart, like where we live. And it's funny, we've talked about how many times like she's come through Huntsville, and I was like, I guess I just never knew how close that we live to each other. But yeah, she has a lot thicker accent than I do.
Absolutely. So you obviously say where you're from. Talk to me about the family. You got brothers, sisters, what we got.
Yeah, so it's just me and my little brother. He's a freshman at Duke. And so it's just the two of us. And yeah.
So, that's got to be cool for him. He had the older sister. I'm sure, obviously, y'all probably got on each other's nerves, but I know at the end of the day, you probably took care of him because I have an older sister myself.
Yeah. I set him straight a few times, but it's funny. I think our relationship really changed when I went to college, because we're 3 years in age, but he got held back. So we're 4 years in school. And so I think when I like moved away and would come back, we went from like brother sister to like best friends. So
Yeah, and I know exactly how that is. My sister being 8 years older, I was there to ruin her life when she was a teenager and I was young, but now best friends, especially same kind of thing after I left to go to the military. When I came back, best friends, the person I could talk to. So I appreciate older sisters. And like I said, for a little brother, I feel like even more than mom and dad, like they're the one person you can kind of go to, you feel comfortable with.
yes, yes.
All right. So growing up, talk to me about, this cheer dance thing. Like, at what age does it start and how does it start? What is the first thing that you do?
Yeah, well, it really just depends. I mean, you can get into dance at any point, but I can kind of share my story of how I got into it. So, yeah, there was a local studio here, and I was in preschool at the time at our church, and my motor skills teacher, I have a February birthday, so like usually you start August, or like right when school starts is when the dance year starts. And they had a class that was full going into that this year. So I was 2.5. And one of the little girls dropped out of class, and my motor skills teacher came to my parents and was like, look, I know she's young. This might not be something you guys want to do, but like I've had an opening in my dance class. I really think you should put Hannah in dance. And my parents were like, you know what? Yeah, sure. My dad had grown up and went to high school with the studio owner. And they were like, you know what? We'll just do it. She won't last long. Little did they know, all these years
No,
later,
no
here I
confidence in you? My goodness.
I mean, they didn't know. Like I could have. They were really, really supportive in whatever I wanted to do. But they're like, yeah, yeah, we'll put her in it, see how she does. And I guess they sparked a fire because 21 years later, I'm still doing it. So yeah, I started at 2.5, just taking basic combo classes, jazz, tap, and ballet. And then with time, fast forward to third grade, I got picked up on company. And so that's when I started competing. And that's when throughout the season you take regular dance classes, but then you learn routines, and then you go, just depending on what studio you're at, you can go to local or you can travel for competitions, just like for like if it's travel baseball, it's kind of that same sort of thing. And you compete. And so I competed for 11 years. And then going into my 8th grade year, we made a studio change to a different studio in Huntsville. And that's when so that we have this thing in the dance world, because you have competitions and you have conventions.
Mhm.
And to all of my athlete friends that don't know dance so well, I try and like put it in their world. So like conventions is kind of like when, football players go to like different camps that colleges host, or like even, middle, different
Right,
ages.
right.
There's camps all over for any sport, not just, football in particular. And I would go to these conventions, and you take class, and they give out scholarships at the end of the weekend. It's just usually a Saturday, Sunday type thing. You take classes from multiple, choreographers that are, leading the industry, doing, awards shows, movies. They choreograph tours for, music artists. I mean, all across the board. And I won a scholarship that allowed me to travel with a certain convention all across the country and assist their choreographers. And so I did that from 8th grade all the way through my senior year. And then the end of
So
my,
so before you continue,
yeah, I'm sorry.
no, I want to break into that while I'm thinking about
Yeah.
it. So you say you're traveling, so you weren't in a regular high school throughout your high school, you were on the move?
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. So I grew up in private school all 12 years that I went to school. And my school did not get a dance team until my sophomore year of high school. So I actually helped get the dance team started. And so yeah, so going into high school, I had no plan of like dancing in high school because we didn't have a team at the time. And once we got our team, obviously like we didn't compete.
Mhm.
We just danced at football and basketball games and that, and then pep rallies,
I
and
mean,
that
I
was it.
feel like there's a lot, similarity between y'all and gymnasts because you start at a very early age, and then as far as when it comes to school, if you want to go to the next level, your school then kind of intertwines with the way you do, dance and
Yes,
gymnastics, and it kind of some of them homeschool, some of them do half days, whatever the case may be, because they don't have gymnastics teams, no different than you didn't have a dance team.
exactly, exactly. Dance and gymnastics is very similar, especially too, career wise. And I mean, that's a whole nother ball of wax that we can get into. But say a lot of people, forego college and move to the East Coast or West Coast, like pursuing a dance, trying to get it. The industry is so different from like college dance and cheer teams. And it's funny because if you would have asked me early high school, I was like, I'm going to go to school on the West Coast. Like, I want to pursue this. Like, I want to try this industry thing. I got signed with a dance agency the end of my freshman year. And just like any agent for baseball or football or whoever it might be, once you have an agent, it's a little bit more insightful on how to navigate the industry side of things, going to auditions, booking jobs, all that kind of thing. And so that's like really where my mindset was at. And then of course we got a high school dance team. And while I loved it, I still was on kind of on that track of, oh, I want to go far. I want to do something different. Like I don't want to do, what college dance and stuff like that. And so it wasn't till my senior year in high school I was actually doing a job out in LA it was a Disneyland shoot. And me and my mom were just driving around, and we were looking at colleges. There was one college in specific, like in particular, that I really was like had my mindset, like this is where I want to go, this is what I want to do. And it was September, and I looked at her and I was like, Mom, like I'm not ready to go this far. Like I don't know if this is what I want to do right now. And so my senior year, Mississippi State had just gotten a new dance coach, and she had really made a big change in the program just in the few first football games that I'd been to my senior year. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to a clinic. Why not? Like, we'll just see what it is. And I had my homecoming dance um, on a Saturday night. And then the next morning, me and my mom got up early, drove to Starkville, and I went to the clinic, and I was like, I'm sold. Like, this is what I want to do. Like, I love this. I think I want to try out. And so fast forward to spring, went to another clinic, and I was like, I think this is what I want to do. At this point, I had a change of heart. I was like, you know what? I want to go to college. I want to get a college degree. I want to do college down south and tried out for Mississippi State's dance team. And that's where it started.
I mean, I couldn't see a better way to go. I understand the whole, the West Coast dream, and I'm someone who's been stationed in San Diego. I get it, but like when you're from the South and
Yeah,
you're that kind of person, like you said, this is home, like just in the
it
general
is.
area, and the college experience. It's one that unfortunately, I played around too much in high school, just only caring about sports, and didn't make the grades, and then that's how I kind of ended up in the military, but. Like I wish I would have, covering all these college athletes, being on campus all the time, getting to see the life that y'all live. Definitely envious that I never got to do it. So I think it's the right decision. So as we get into Mississippi State, this is where it gets interesting because I think people probably think wrong, maybe label you wrong in a way. Like they see you on the sidelines of a football game, right?
Mhm.
Or basketball, and probably don't know that you're a legit dancer, right? It's probably a common thought. They assume, the quote cheerleader, but talk about, when you get there, obviously you're a dancer, but how does your roles, because I looked at your Instagram, right? And
Mhm.
there isn't a sports event that you're not at. So how does that work when you get to Mississippi State? How do you balance the dancing portion, but then also your responsibilities with all the teams?
Yeah. It's a lot. I had to quickly learn. I thought I knew time management until I got into it, and I was like, whoa, maybe I need to work on this some. But no, on the flip side of that, it's so rewarding. I guess if it's okay, I'll kind of hop into like why I chose Mississippi State, and that will kind of help. Um, so I come from a house heavily divided. Everyone asked when I got to Starkville, why didn't you go to Alabama? Why didn't you go to Auburn? Like you're from Alabama. That's where everybody goes.
Hmm.
My dad is a graduate of the University of Alabama. And my mom went to Mississippi State. My mom is from a small town in North Mississippi, Iuka, Mississippi. I don't even know if you've heard of it. Really,
That's
really
crazy
small
because I
town.
live in North Mississippi and I don't know where that is. So
Yeah, she is the top right corner of the state. And so she's from it's real close to Corinth. But if you know where that is.
hmm.
But yeah, she's from Iuka and my mom went to Mississippi State. And so for us growing up, my dad would go to Tuscaloosa, my mom would go to Starkville. Whenever it would be the Alabama Mississippi State game, they would not sit together. Like my dad sit in the Alabama section and vice versa, depending on where it was at. And so I would occasionally go with my dad, but majority of the time I grew up going to Starkville. And so it had always been home to me. And it was always kind of that safe place. When I was looking at other schools and exhausting all opportunities, I was like, Mississippi State is going to be the safe bet for me. But like I said, as I got closer to time, and I did like 3 or 4 campus visits, just trying to make sure. And I was like, I never got that family atmosphere that you get in Starkville anywhere else. And like, I just was like, God is calling me here. I know I'm supposed to be here. This is where I'm going. And so I have grown up a Mississippi State fan. I
It's
was
a truly a house divided.
it's truly a house divided. And so if like not for me to be all over the page, but it's so funny too, when I made the dance team and it was my first year on the team, freshman year, my dad finally sat in the Mississippi State section and wore a Mississippi State shirt. The Alabama Mississippi State game. It was home, it was in Starkville, and my mom has had the same tickets my entire life. And so she obviously knows all the people and the surrounding area, and everyone was like clapping for him and yelling because he had finally, and we still laugh about it to
Yeah,
this day.
I don't really know any parents because we know plenty of parents who were fans of other teams prior to, but I don't know any that doesn't change for their child. Like I'm gonna
Yeah.
call it like it is. You're a terrible parent if you don't cheer for your kid. I mean, it is what it is. But it's interesting that mom won because my daughter just made her choice and she's going to LSU. So dad won in this family.
Uh-huh.
My wife didn't care for her going to LSU. She's gonna wear the purple and gold. However, like I said, little man in the room, he's 11, but he'll already tell you he's going to get his engineering degree from Mississippi State. There's no way you're gonna
Oh,
change his mind. He's been locked in on that since he was 8 years old.
I love it. Hey, no better place to do engineering either. So that's
Exactly. So he's got it. He's got it mapped out now. Honestly, I didn't think she'd go to LSU, and I didn't even push for it. But what happens is you take a kid somewhere so many times. So we've been there so many times for sporting
right.
events. family culture and everything. And this naturally, she, you talked about feeling like home. To her, that is a place. Around here, she's not a big Ole Miss person, which is actually what's closest to us, not Mississippi State. And so she's not a real big fan of that. And then Memphis is where my wife went, and she's not a big fan
Right.
of that. And so kind of was LSU, but to the point, like, I didn't think she would actually do what dad, wanted her to do. So it's pretty cool. And I didn't even push her. Man, maybe that's why.
Right. Hey, well,
But
good for her. If that's where she feels called to, like she's gonna have a great experience. She's gonna be very successful.
look, all I know is I'm just glad I know athletes everywhere, because I do know the LSU as what it is. Let's call it what it is on here, since this is a Mississippi State episode. They party a little too much, and so I'm gonna have all my boys on the baseball team. Like they're
Yeah.
all gonna have Life 360 on her. They
Yeah.
know where she's
Yep.
at. Like
Yeah.
so, I'm gonna have
That's
eyes
funny.
everywhere.
Everywhere. Everywhere. No, I love it.
But
I
back to yours. I hijacked your story. My bad.
No, I listen, I'm so happy to do. I love those kinds of stories. Anyone that I can relate to, I would love to hear. Anyway, so sorry, not to get off on on a different path. But anyway, that's how I ended up in Mississippi State. That's how I chose Mississippi State. But to go back and answer your question, so balancing the schedule and dance team. So for dancers at Mississippi State, it's different depending on what college you go to, obviously, but we dance all home football games, and then they will take a travel squad depending on what bowl game we make it to, or if we go to one. And then we dance all home men's and women's basketball games. And then for dance team, we do all Friday, Saturday, and then once SEC play starts, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, home baseball games.
Mhm.
And I know that's when people say that, they're like, what? And I'm like, well, we had it and then it went away. I know it's very popular at Arkansas.
Mhm.
Um, and then more dance teams across the nation are starting to dance at baseball games. We dance on top of the dugouts. So it's very overwhelming. Now for basketball, we split our whole squad into two. We have like maroon and white teams. That way, we aren't all at basketball games, say 4 nights
Mhm.
a week, but at least, we go every other. It depends, just depending on the
Well,
squad and the
here,
season.
here's the reason why I wouldn't like the baseball if I was y'all, because of the way the seating is set up. You're like right on basically a stage platform, like right on top of them with the way it is with the dugout. Whereas basketball, it's seating going, football the same, really. Seating going up, large, massive crowd. It doesn't feel like you're
Right,
just right on top of them.
right, right. I will say people always ask like, oh, what is your favorite to dance at? I've always been a football girl, and so I love the atmosphere of a football stadium. And so I mean, yes, the fans are really far from you, and when you perform on the field, it's a kind of different. I mean, the most up close and personal I would say would be like basketball because they're sitting like right courtside. But I always love the atmosphere at football. But no, every atmosphere amongst the three sports is very different. And that goes like choreography wise, we dance very different styles depending at like what sporting event we're at. Even down to like uniform wise, like what we wear. Because like you said, at baseball, we're elevated, we're kind of having to look down on fans. Basketball is like
Mhm.
courtside a little bit up, and then football is really far away. So three very different sports, three very different styles of dancing.
Right. So, do you know, I got to thinking about it with this whole baseball thing, and I'm scrolling to look. You know what, Hannah? I think we've met before, and I think you know my son, as a matter of fact.
Was was your son one of the little dudes of the game?
I'm pretty sure he was who you picked for fan of the game. Yeah, that is you with the Bulldogs. Absolutely.
Right there.
Boom. I started thinking about how y'all were that you said y'all were there, and I was trying to think when I've seen y'all there, and then I started to think for a second, and I was like, you know what? I know her, and
We
you
have
know it's
met. We
that's
know each
wild.
other.
But I had thought when I originally reached out to you, obviously, all the mutual friends, whether it was Becca or Briley, Kinley, whoever. But I thought you would look familiar. That's why obviously that was one interaction. But now you know the Mississippi State fan. He was a fan of the game. He's diehard.
Yes.
And so, and that makes sense. And that's a cool thing that you get to do, because that's getting to relate with, a little fan, and you make his day, right? You pick him to be, the fan of the game. He gets to hang out with the Bulldogs. You ask him, I forgot what you asked him, but then it got him to, yell "Hell State" as loud as he could out there. So it was really cool. So I appreciate that.
Hey, I loved doing that this season. That was just as just as fun for me as it was them.
So you talk about balancing all this time, and then there comes the academic part, right? Like because
Right.
that's what most people don't think about when it comes to athletes. I think there's really this, misunderstanding, no matter what sport you're involved in or what extracurricular, that you don't really have to actually study, which is wild that people think. Like we have to reschedule a lot of these episodes because no matter what athlete we're talking about, they have a test or study hall or a project, whatever the case may be, and have to reschedule. And I tell people, I like these, they really go to class. Like I
Right.
think that they think y'all walk through school. And so I say that to say, to be able to balance academically on top of the fact that you're doing the dance, you're going to all these games, because you talk about all the home games, and it's like, you could have two, three, four, in a week, depending on the sport and whatever the case may be. So keeps y'all really, really busy. And so how are you able to manage the academic portion while doing all that?
Right. Well, I'm the first to say, like I said, I have a little brother who is a freshman at Duke, so you can obviously imagine he is brilliant. I'm the first to say I have to work towards my grades. I have to work extra hard, just because schools always naturally come a little bit harder to me. But yeah, it's I was very blessed to go to not only a private school, but I went to a college prep school. And because I went to a private college prep, I was like, oh, I have this in the bag. Like, this is not going to be anything. Boy, was I wrong. College is hard no matter where you go. And I was the student that, I was blessed, very blessed to have professors that were very understanding that, like, yes, I was a college athlete, and they were very understanding of about the schedule I had to balance. And for me, they worked so incredibly hard to make sure that I had everything that I needed. They were always so gracious to meet with me after class, or like if I had to miss for a tournament, or athletes are like or athletes are people too. Like they get sick, they have stuff happen in their personal life, not just in the classroom or on the court or field or wherever it might be. And so it was hard, it was very challenging. I can't say that it was a breeze, because it wasn't. I had my moments through college, but when you look at on the flip side, it really does, I'm trying not to ramble here.
You're good.
It just, I'm losing my train of thought. Anyway, no, it's very hard, but like, yeah.
Well, let's get to this. Obviously, I see. I talked about going through the pictures on IG. You ultimately got your degree. What'd you get your degree in while you were there?
So I am a communications degree. I started out in broadcast and digital journalism, but I ended up finishing still communications, but I was just more of a communication media studies. And really, it's just a few classes that are different, but it's the majority the same.
I
So
got you, and we'll get into what's the plan for the future.
yeah.
Stepping back to Mississippi State, talking about all the things you got to do. When you talk about games or events that you were at, what's your favorite event that you ever did, whether it was a game or something else that maybe wasn't a game?
Um, I have a big heart for, community service volunteering. I loved the appearances that we did just as much at dancing at games. Um, I guess if it's okay, I can pick two. As far as my favorite, like, game, like physically dancing, I would probably, oh gosh, there's so many, because I get into this, being growing up a Mississippi State fan, and you sit your entire life and you like listen to the cowbells, and you're holding a cowbell, and like you're watching on the sideline, and nothing will ever beat that first time for me, like stepping, on Davis Wade Field, or excuse me, on Scott Field in Davis Wade.
Hmm.
Um, and it was like a 2 o'clock kickoff. Maybe it might have even been an 11 my freshman year. And it was probably the hottest game on record. It's still probably the hottest game. We had girls passing out on the side. Like it was,
Oh,
um,
trust me, as the LSU fan this year, I was
I'm
not a
sure,
fan.
yes,
That
you
I'm
understand.
not, but there's nothing you hate seeing early in the season, an 11 a.m. kick, and you're like,
Yeah.
come
When
on.
you see that, you're like, oh. Oh,
Anywhere in the South, the 11 a.m. kick when the season first starts and it's, August, September, it's like really like for real, we can't play at night when the sun goes down.
please. Yeah, unbearably hot. But that feeling, like I still get chills talking about it because the field literally shakes when they just play the I gotta have more cowbell clip, and when they're like rolling back the garage doors, and the team's about to walk out and like they do the run out and like the fight song's playing. It's just like it's so overwhelming. And I know it's different for every person, but like I said, growing up a Mississippi State fan, like no feeling beats that. I mean, yes, like we had our Egg Bowl wins, like of course that was fun. Um, and then of course, like the most memorable game for me was our how we started off 2023, the Tampa Bowl game, just like with the craziness with like Mike Leach passing away, and it was like my last football game ever. Like that whole trip was just absolutely incredible. My team grew so close. We just had the best time. So like there's those moments, and they are, like I said, unbelievable, incredible. Like I will never ever forget them. But it's just as much like going out into the Starkville community, or even just walking through the junction on game day and seeing like the little girls run up to you and be like, can I get my picture made with you? And then like, just like having girls like come up to you on the sidelines. And I mean, now that TikTok's so big, it's funny. Like a couple girls were like, can we please make TikToks with you? And I know that's something so small, but you don't realize like, which I think back to when I was growing up and I did that same thing. I remember going to all the little kitty camps and doing stuff like that, and those moments in the fan interaction and just getting to meet like people is just as much as memorable as it is when you have the sparkles on and the uniform and the pom-poms. So
That's important that you understand that, and I know a lot of athletes who do, and there's some who still need to understand that. I love that you understand that you were that kid one time, because
mhm,
athletes who don't take the time to pay attention to kids, they strike a nerve with me because those kids want to be them. They look up to them, and a lot of them that do, Mississippi State players are really good about it. I used to love it. The kids would wait outside, especially at the baseball stadium. They'd wait out by the doors where they'd come out of the locker room, and even after a tough loss, stop and get all the kids on the way through. And you can talk to Logan Tanner or Landon Sims or whoever, and they'll tell you that they were that kid once. And it's important, you to remember, you were that little girl once, and take the time because they look up to you, and it's a big deal when people that you look up to take the time to talk to you. You never know what little girl you may inspire just by having a nice comment towards.
right.
But let's talk about, I saw something and it excited me. You're gonna hear a confession that in almost 4 years of this show I've never said on air. Daniel knows it. He's not here to make fun of me. I love the step up movies. I love dance movies. My wife makes fun of me, and I bring that up because I saw the video of you dancing in the studio club like scene. You're talking about TikTok. You see a lot of them. Like as far as doing stuff like that, like when do you do that? Is that something you were doing in college, or is it something you've started doing now? Because that's the stuff that like I really like when you're doing the solo thing and like breaking it down to a specific song.
Right, right. So yeah, a majority of that. So I did a ton of that, like I said, end of middle school, early high school. We would go spend our summers out in Los Angeles, and we would train at all of these. When you go to New York and you go to LA, they have. It's not like when you go to dance studios, more like here. You sign up for classes and you take all year round, but in bigger cities, even Atlanta, Nashville, LA, New York, places like those, they have studios where this choreographers in the industry, the leading choreographers, they teach on a regular basis, and you just drop in and take class whenever. That's where you see, all the viral videos on whether it be Instagram or TikTok or YouTube or like, whatever, all these like cool concepts now these days. Though those are just drop in class. You go take those whenever you want to. So so it's funny because majority of my training going into college was more like industry style training. Like I knew how to hold pom poms, but when I first started out, it's funny. I was not the best like sideline palm girl at all. My mom has like, she would video me every game, and we would look at, and it's funny, from my senior year to my freshman year, I looked back at videos and I was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea what I was doing. They're two very different styles. And it's something I had to work towards. So obviously majority of college, Starkville, it's smaller. And so as far as like industry style type classes, there's not a lot of that in that area or the surrounding areas for that. And it's kind of hard to like, get out to go train at other places, because on weekends, I'd have practice, or I would have games or appearances. And so I didn't get to leave that much. But since have been graduated, no, I've really gotten more back into that industry style drop-in class. Like they have, classes these days as you go in, and you learn the combo, you do it a few times in groups, and then they have videographers come in doing concept videos, because those videos, A, help you to learn how to dance in front of a camera, and B, help those choreographers promote their choreography. It's all
Right.
like promoting here and there and stuff like that. And with time, things grow and things change. And even like when I started in the industry style, gosh, 8, 9, 10 years ago, it's drastically changed, since then.
Right.
Now, since social media platforms, like Instagram Reels are come, and like TikTok, and all these clips and stuff, it's constantly changing. And so I've started, since I've been graduated, have gotten more back into that field of dance. But yeah.
So, you graduate, obviously we talk about you get your degree, you have your availability to obviously pursue your career in that. You have dance, which you talk about you're getting back into. I feel like based upon what I've seen you doing both, and I noticed, when it comes to Mississippi State, you're still involved, right? I've seen you doing promos and things with them. So like talk about what you're doing now relative to those things, and especially with Mississippi State.
Yeah. So you know, I guess this is a big thing too, because this was such a big chunk of my college experience and my college career. I couldn't have gone to college, even specifically at Mississippi State, at a better time, because March of my freshman year, that's when COVID hit, and that hit everyone, and that changed a lot of things for a good year or so. And so I am so glad that like I chose to go to school and get my degree, and I was still able to dance all 4 years. But it's funny, when I started out, I only thought I was going to dance 1 year, because like I said earlier, I love sports. I had always dreamed of going into like sports broadcasting. That's the career field I wanted to go into. I wanted to work my way from holding camera cords to, working my way up as need be, building those relationships, those connections. Like that's what I want to do. I was like, I want to go to college, like I want to start working. And I was like, I'm gonna take this 1 year. Well, 1 year turned to 4 years. And for me, I was very blessed, because I was still, still did the broadcasting communications major, was still able to take those TV production classes, take the interviewing classes, classes that were helping me with my speech, things like that, that I was still very passionate about. And I was still getting to dance. But while I was dancing, I learned, I might not necessarily be, having a headset, running promos on the Jumbotron, or like running up and down the field, videoing or whatnot. But I was still, in the same area, and I was still able to make connections and meet people, just in a different light, like even still getting to dance. So I did that majority of the 3 years. And then my senior year, I actually got an internship with athletics, specifically with baseball. And that's kind of how I met you and your son. So when you go to and it was new, when you go to basketball games, they have kind of the MC, during timeouts, that are doing gas card promotions, and they're doing like all these different games on the court, stuff like that. Well, athletics and fan engagement and marketing were like, we kind of want to bring this to baseball. Would you be interested? And I was like, yes, I would love to do this. I have to be at baseball games anyway. And it's funny, if you were a fan, there were games that I had to dance. I would be running back and forth between the first base and third base dugout, and I would like throw something on, throw a jersey on over my uniform, and then I would take it off, and like I would dance between one inning, and then I would interview the next. And so it was a great experience for me. I got to meet incredible people. I got to meet little dudes at the game, and then we would do the dude of the game, which is like college students. I got to meet more college guys, and then cowbell races, and then and then on Saturdays games, we would do the Taste of the Lounge videos. And so what that was is they would pick a different rig every weekend to highlight, just a little bit of history about that rig and, their favorite dish to cook. So I was getting to meet, all different kinds of people, hearing all different kinds of stories. I mean, I was being fed the best food, like, it was because it's such like a family, at Mississippi State, especially baseball games. It doesn't matter what team you're pulling for. You walk out in that left field lounge, they're going to feed you. They're going to take you in and welcome you.
That's what
And
that's what I tell people. If you're not even big on Mississippi State, just go for the food alone.
the
Like they
food
will
and the
feed you.
experience. So yeah, so I was able to, I was very blessed because I got to do what I love. I still got to dance. I got to have that time while also getting to intern with athletics. And then actually for the full senior year too, I had two internships going at the same time with the Office of Public Affairs for the university. So I was, able to create campus tour videos for the university. Those were posted like on all social media platforms. And I got the idea of campus tour videos. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but when you come to when you come to take your campus visit, whether you're a prospective or transfer student, you sit through the info session and then you go on a tour with a roadrunner. And I was very blessed to be a roadrunner for 3 of my 4 years. And that's the walking portion of your campus visit. And so I was always pitching I was pitching Mississippi State any and everywhere that I went. So I was very blessed to not only dance, but to be able to have those internships to kind of see, oh, is this the career field I want to still go in, or is this not? And that's kind of where I've ended up today.
Yeah, no, I mean, you got the full experience out of college. You were able to take everything you possibly could, and I think that's important. That's invaluable. I hope that everybody does when they go on their journey, and then obviously you're now able to use what you did there going forward. So that's awesome. You know, I look forward to, are you going to still be doing things, continuing to do these things with Mississippi State? So like, that was just last season that I saw
Right.
you. So will you still be around doing things like that going into next season?
Right. As far as next season, I'm not quite sure. I have, as far as like moving forward and like what is to come, there's I have a couple exciting opportunities that I can't really share too much on yet. But I'm very optimistic and hopeful for the future. And I do think I know I will always be in sports, but I will always have a connection to dance. And
Mm.
once you start, you never stop. And so I feel like there will always be a part of me in the dance world. So
Absolutely. All right. Well, with that, we are going to get into the game called This or That we play with every guest. You basically have two options. You pick one or the other. Can't say neither, can't say both. You down to play?
okay.
All right, let me grab this real quick. Let's see. Briley's the closest one conveniently. This or that is brought to you by the Bellsmith. If you are a Mississippi State fan and you're listening to this show, the Bellsmith is the best in the biz. You can get player bells that help out athletes through NIL. You can go online and check him out, specifically the Bellsmith, or you can go to places like Maroon and Company around Starville. Support these athletes. I got Briley along with, let's see, about 13 other bells that have been guests. So plenty to choose from. Go support and off the bench guests. But let's get into it. We're going to start with a softball question. Do you like baked potatoes or mashed potatoes?
Mashed potatoes. Oh, mashed potatoes. Lord, I can't talk.
It's all good. This next question has been fun. My host did not know why I threw this in there, and we've had 5 episodes previous to you, and it has caused a big stir. So I knew what I was doing when I researched. Liquid soap or bar soap?
Just like wash your hands.
Mm-hmm.
Liquid soap. You know why? Because when you use bar soap, it gets stuck on the counter, and then you can't get it off, and then you make a mess. So liquid soap.
But do you know statistically, liquid soap doesn't even wash 50% of your hands when you use it? That's where we get it. Bar soap, people call it
Oh
gross,
no.
especially because you share it with people, but it actually washes your hands fully and completely. So while it sticks and it bothers you, or while you may have to use something that other people use, it's the best way to clean your hands, just so you know. But I personally prefer liquid soap if I'm going to have to share with people, so a public
Yeah.
bathroom. In my own personal bathroom, give me the bar soap. But it's actually been funny because Vance Honeycutt from North Carolina, the baseball player, he knew that. And so he was like, give me bar soap. I'm trying to get my hands completely clean. And I was like, good
I
on
would
you.
have, hey, you learn something new every day.
Absolutely. All right. This next one, what are you more scared of, snakes or spiders?
Snakes, 100%.
No, I mean, snakes will scare spiders, but I learned talking about learning something new. So our baseball guest from Hawaii, do you know he told me, now I haven't even looked this up, but I'm gonna take his word for it. 21
Okay.
years on this earth in Hawaii. He said there's no snakes in Hawaii. Like literally no snakes. Not like you don't see them, but like he literally said they're not there. I think my wife may move to Hawaii now because she hates
I,
snakes more than anything.
I'm
And
gonna move with her.
yeah, I
I'll
mean
just come.
it's already a gorgeous place. You can tell her that there's no like of the evil snakes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I can't.
Spiders, meanwhile, we had our guest from Australia on, Liam Spence. I asked him about those pictures you see of like all the giant webbing on the trees and everything. He actually said that's year round in the country. So I'll never go to Australia. We can go to Hawaii and never go to Australia. That's what someone was because I
Yeah,
don't do spiders, especially if it's
that's
year round
fine.
thing. All right. NSYNC or Backstreet Boys? And don't mess this up. I'll have to cut this episode early.
I feel like what I'm gonna say is not gonna be what you wanna. I feel like I'm gonna say NSYNC and you're a Backstreet Boys guy.
No, 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 no.
Okay, okay, good.
No, and I'm from Memphis, so Justin Timberlake's the only
I
answer.
was about to say, yeah,
I actually thought you might say Backstreet Boys and go the wrong way, and I was like, no, we can't do it.
no,
No,
I'm gotta go with NSYNC.
it was funny. We were at church a couple months ago. I was sitting there talking about the Step Up movies and how I admit it. It was so funny. We're in church service, and our pastor goes, he referenced Bye Bye Bye, and he goes, NSYNC. He goes, who in here listens to NSYNC? And no one would raise their hand. And I'm sitting there right there by the front, and I raised my hand up, and he goes, he has no shame. And I was like, man, y'all in here lying. Y'all all know y'all like NSYNC. What playing? Uh,
Okay, I'm sorry, not to interrupt you. Speaking about it or step up movies, I meant to say this when you brought it up earlier. So a lot of the choreographers that I've assisted were A, helped choreograph all those movies, but B, also in them too. So we have
really?
a lot of friends in the step up movies. Sorry. Fun
No,
fact.
you're good. No, you're good. I love those movies. What? It's not a this or that question, but what's your favorite one of all those?
Step Up Revolution.
The best one. Well, okay.
That's one.
But I like that one because I think it has all the best dance scenes, and the way they obviously artistically do it. But then you can't go wrong with the first one, which is the Gress.
You're
The best thing about the first one was it's interesting that they ended up married. But I had a thing for Jenna Dewan and my wife had a thing for Channing Tatum, so it worked out well. We could watch the movie, both had high school.
yeah, yeah, watch together and be fine.
But I tell you when I lost my whole vibe for her. He came on Ellen and I was watching it one time and he showed a picture of his bathroom and she had the sloppiest worst bathroom I ever seen and he said he didn't even go in there and I saw it and I was like couldn't live with her, couldn't do it. I understand girls are messy, but this was, and he's kind of wrong for throwing her under the bus publicly. It might have been the reason for their divorce. I don't know. But he's living his best life now. He's going to Taylor Swift
Yeah.
concerts. I mean, trading friendship bracelets. All right. This next one I think I would know the answer to. Well, maybe not. Well, you know what? I don't think I know. Costume party or pool party?
Oh man. I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go costume party.
That's what I actually thought. I figured out,
Yeah.
but I was like, everybody likes a pool party. Did you go to one this past Halloween? Because if you did, our favorite thing is we've been getting the answers of what people dress for, and now I need to like start searching through IG photos because of our 5 guests so far, 4 of them have gotten wild. As a matter of fact, I need to go see Josh Hartle from Wake Forest. He was a Teletubby, and I'm intrigued now. That's a little weird for me, but I need to go see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what were you this past year?
I I'm gonna embarrass myself. I didn't do Halloween this year.
Oh,
I was
mm-mm-mm.
actually I want to say that I was in Durham. See, my brother is a cheerleader at Duke actually, and so we spent a lot of our time up in Durham, and I want to say I was up there for Halloween this year.
Yeah, I saw the pictures of your brother, and that's really cool. Like you said, to be a part of Duke, they don't just let anybody in there for sure.
No, no, it's very hard.
All right. Would you rather be lost in a jungle or trapped in a haunted house?
Lost in the jungle. Listen, when people ask me my biggest fears, it's horror movies, anything tied to like horror, scary. I couldn't even get like my school, like the high school would do a little haunted house with the cafeteria. No.
And I'm glad you brought this up because this opened a chance for me to throw Kinley Hawk under the bus because her and Brooke sent me text messages yesterday in our group text. Brooke showing me that she had a bad day and she wanted to come home and wind down and watch The Conjuring, which is a running joke on this show because when asked what her favorite movie was, she said The Conjuring. And I told Brooks, I said, that's a red flag, bro. Like that to watch that movie in general, but that to be her favorite movie. And so then she sends me this text yesterday or he sends me this text, and I'm like, y'all are like messing with me. He's like, no, she's watching it. Like, that's her movie. That is so weird.
I listen, I get so in my head about things. I cannot like I'm talking like if I even watch trailers, like I start to sweat or I it's I mm-mm,
Could you
mm-mm.
so with that, I mean, could you imagine I mean, so we talk about like Step Up. Step Up is a feel good movie, right? It's something
Right.
you like, whatever. For me, I also like, certain military movies, not the sad ones where everybody dies, but you find something that's like your comfortable place. I don't know where Kinley got to The Conjuring at,
I'm
and
gonna have to text her and I'm gonna be like the Conjuring question mark and just like
yeah.
see her response because like my mind is blown.
Like I'm telling you, I told Brooks sleep with one eye open. I'm not comfortable for my dude going forward.
That is that no, that's I mean being in the jungle, like being lost in the jungle, yes, would be scary, but that's better than being in a I cannot do a haunted house.
All right, so the last question, and this will be interesting because we usually talk national championships with a lot of our guests, and for you, I'm gonna make it a little bit different. I'm gonna change it, not just winning championships, but for you, I can give you $10 million. Bring a briefcase. I give you $10 million, or you give me your college dance career, and you never did it, and you take it away. Would you rather have the money, or would you rather have your college dance experience?
While while money would be so nice, and every day I'm like, dang, I wish money could just grow on trees, or I wish I could just win the lottery. Um, Memories mean more than money to me. And at the end of the day, you know, at the end of the day, we all kind of end up in the same place. And for me, my dance career, and the memories and the relationships and everything that's come with that I've made throughout the years, it's what shaped me as a person. And I don't really know who I would be without dance. And so I'm gonna have to keep my dance career and pass on the money.
I mean, it's the right answer. We've only probably had out of like 300 some guests, we've already only had like 15 actually say the money, but it's always a fun question. And some say it, but after having Paul Skeens on here and we framed it in a way, he got $10 million for his signing bonus, and that's kind of why I've stuck with the number 10 million. But would he take the money or give the money back and keep just his championship at LSU? And he said just his championship. And for the very reason you said, it's not about the hardware, but he said the memories that came along with winning that championship. And I think any athlete, no matter what the sport, would feel that way because the camaraderie, the memories that you have along the way,
Right.
you wouldn't give that up for no amount of money. And it even got flipped on me last week with Trey Lipscomb from Tennessee. He asked me, would I give up the podcast for $10 million? And I looked at him, I said, yeah. And he goes, no, no, no. He goes, just like we talk about the memories, he goes, think about all the games you've been to with your son and this, that. And I was like, oh, that ain't fair. That's why I asked the questions because I'm not taking away any
Whoa,
memories of my
whoa,
son. Yeah.
whoa.
So but that is, you're off the hot seat. Is there anything I feel like you would definitely have something to plug and promote if anybody, because you got a lot of things going on. You obviously know Mississippi State well.
I mean, gosh, well, I will always plug Mississippi State. I'm always one of those that just go. Like, if you're considering, go take a tour, go get a taste of your own mouth, or go get a taste in your mouth of it. It's a great place. It not only provides a phenomenal education, it I told when I would give my tours, no matter if you were in a classroom waiting to talk to your professor, if you were at a sporting event, if you're standing in line at Kroger, at the local Kroger or the local Walmart, everyone in that town or at that university wants to see you succeed. They want to see you grow, and they want to do anything and everything they can to provide the best experience they can for you. And a lot of places don't get to say that. You are not a number at Mississippi State, you are a person. And they want to create, the best atmosphere for you. And so that's my plug. Not just sports, just, going to college. But my plug for, I guess speaking on dance team and cheer, because while they're very, very different, they do have a lot of similarities. Just college dance is very different from majority of college sports, but there's a lot of similarities. And while we might stand on the sidelines and have sparkly uniforms and like have a lot of makeup and have our hair done, there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that go into that behind the scenes that I don't think a lot of people quite understand.
Mm-hmm.
And so to any girl, guy, whoever that might be watching this podcast that is considering trying out for a college dance or cheer team, it is so worth it. And the memories you make are so worth it.
Yeah, anybody who thinks that's just uninformed. I remember back in high school, and I'll end with this to solidify what you're saying. Um, People tried to say that cheerleaders weren't athletes. Our high school cheer team had won back-to-back national championships in Orlando, and we would get done with football practice 5:30, 6 o'clock. They'd still be in there. Obviously, I dated a few of them along the way, and they wouldn't get out there till 8 o'clock. They would practice from after school to like 8 o'clock. You're going to tell me who somebody who puts in 5, 6 hours a day practicing, doing athletic movements isn't an athlete? No, it's because, like you said, it's the simple-minded people who only think about what they see on the sideline. Like you said, they don't actually go to a competition to see what is actually going on, whether it's dance, cheer, or anything else in between. But if you want to follow Hannah, you can go to, it's simple. You can't mess up her name. It's Hannah Stutts on Instagram. Mississippi State. It's basically you type in Hail State and then whatever the letters are, and that is the sport. I recommend to follow. They do great with the Instagram page, all the sports. Look forward to amazing seasons with everything coming up. Hopefully they turn it back around in baseball, because that's me and my son's thing. But Hannah, I want to thank you for coming on and wish you the best of luck in your journey going forward.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. That's Hannah Stutts, everybody. If you like hearing her story, or you just like hearing average Joes talk X's and O's, please like and share the podcast on Facebook, retweet us on Twitter, listen and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and Anchor. As always, ratings, comments, and feedback are always welcome. We will see everyone for episode 6 with Jacob Compton of Memphis Baseball. But in the meantime, remember, strong bodies, sharp minds, grit and grind all the time. We are out.